The Golden State Warriors are now up 2-0 against the Denver Nuggets. CJ Holmes, the Golden State Warriors beat reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, joins me. CJ, we got a lot to cover, man. I'm going to rely on you for stats, for inside information. Are you ready, man? You doing good? You set to go?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow CJ Holmes on Twitter at CJHolmes22. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. The Warriors are up 2-0 in the series against the beat them 126-106 at Chase Center. CJ, you are at the scene like you are for every Warriors game. Give us your recap of the game and what you saw from last night's victory.
Yeah, it was just electric in there last night, man. Jokic came out hot, got Looney in early foul trouble, and then looked like, he was on his way to having one of those games that we're, so accustomed to seeing out of him. Then late in the first quarter, Kerr put in Gary Payton the second. He started to, get some strips on Jokic, and I think he got a block, and I think that's when the game kind of started to turn. Jokic went back to the bench to start the second quarter, and most of the half was played, pretty even to a stalemate. But once Kerr went with that 3-guard lineup, the Warriors were able to start getting easy offense, and the crowd started getting into it, and just like in game one, it gave the Warriors momentum they needed to, create some separation in halftime, and have the confidence going into the third quarter to pull away. And they really last night, more so than game one, I think that the Warriors really got under the Nuggets' skin. You can see it with Jokic getting ejected, Curry, Poole, Thompson hitting shots, and Denver players walking back on defense with their head down or their hands up. It was wild to see. You had DeMarcus Cousins and Will Barton getting into it on the bench, had to be separated by Monte Morris, and that's the type of frustration that the Warriors were causing for teams, during some of their championship runs. So it's so funny that when you look back at it's only 2 games and still early in this series, but you look back at the the final stretch of games in the regular season, and one thing Steve Kerr just kept saying, just wait till we get healthy. Just wait till we get healthy. Well, the Warriors are as healthy as they've been all year long, and it looks like they're slowly returning to championship form.
Yeah, you started covering. You got put on the beat like 2 months ago? Is my math accurate? I can't remember when you joined the.
Yeah, my first game was right after the All-Star break.
So before that, you were with the Athletic. I believe you were on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. How has your perception of this team changed? I've been saying since August of last year, this team's going to win the title. I remain confident. It wavered a little bit in February, March, but I always kept trying to tell people, look, this team has been through so many wars that the regular season is just a secondary notion to them. Obviously the new player is Jordan Poole. Yeah, the regular season counts for him. He had to build his entire repertoire that he has now through this season. What was your perception of this team, man? Like, were you doubting them like a lot of people were? Did you see what I guess a few people are seeing? Because a lot of people were laughing at me and giving me weird looks when I was saying back in August that this is a world championship team. What was your thoughts on it, and what are your thoughts now?
Yeah, over the first half of the season, even playing without Klay Thompson, the Warriors looked like a championship team. They were running guys out the gym. It's everything you've come to expect from a Steve Kerr coach team over the last couple of years. But, when I got the job after the All-Star break, one can make the argument that the Warriors were one of the worst teams in the NBA. After the All-Star break, they just had so much cushion, going into it that, they still managed to win 53 games or something like that.
53. Yeah.
But, that was just my perspective. It was just like, they're really struggling right now. They can't seem to find rhythm. I mean, they weren't guarding at times, and you're hearing things in news conferences that aren't normal for a championship team, or things that you don't want to hear at that time of the year. Steve Kerr talking about a lack of fundamentals, focus, energy, intensity. They're blowing big leads. It's hard to when you see teams like Phoenix and Memphis, executing at a high level night in, night out. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to place the Warriors kind of squarely in that championship conversation. But, like I said, one thing Steve Kerr just kept saying is just wait till we get healthy, just wait till we get healthy. And,
Yep.
One thing's for certain, it's hard as hell to bet against a healthy Warriors team. So, again, it was the Nuggets are a good team, but it was still the Nuggets. They've played well in 2 games at home, at Chase Center. Now we're going to see if the Warriors are able to sustain that energy and intensity at Ball Arena, because, make no mistake, those fans, they're going to remember last night's game, and, Draymond Green, dancing at the free throw line before the game's over, and Steph shimmying on dudes, and Jordan on the ground shooting finger lasers. They're going to remember all that. And they're going to be, I expect Ball Arena to be rocking on Thursday night. So it's gonna be up for the Warriors to be, ready for that punch. But so far in this series, they've had a counter for every punch that's been thrown at them.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. I would say under normal circumstances, if you're going to be critical of a team, given their 3 best stars or 3 biggest stars played together a whopping total of 11 minutes over the span of a season, yeah, I think that would normally be a valid criticism. But when these 3 have been through 5 straight NBA finals together, 7 straight NBA playoffs together, I mean, a decade together is enough where I don't think a limited amount of time together during a regular season would impact that, it would affect the chemistry. And we're seeing that. I mean, they're playing just like the old days. Klay didn't even have like the greatest of nights by his standards. He still finished with 21. And this new big 3, I'm calling them the splash party. I think PTSD is the dumbest nickname on the planet. I'm not honoring that. I'm not respecting that at all. I want a nickname that gives me pleasant, fun thoughts. PTSD just makes me think of the pandemic, man. Like that takes me back to when I got PTSD from isolating for 9 months. I can't stand that nickname. I don't know why people are perpetuating that. I digress. What's going on with Igoudala, man? I don't. Part of me thinks they're just playing a really cautious and safe with him. They want to save him for a potential Grizzlies series in round 2, because that's where I think they're really going to need him, and maybe even Jonathan Kuminga, who's not on the playoff rotation right now. You were at the scene. This was a late decision to put him on the injury report. I believe he had like a neck sprain, or I forgot what the diagnosis was. What is your take on Iggy, man? What's going on with him?
Us reporters were kind of just, in the dark, just like everybody else. Igoudala wasn't put on the injury report until late. Just about an hour or so before tip-off, and
Right.
It came out as a surprise to everyone, because he looked fine in game 1, and didn't seem like he had any lingering issues. But Steve Kerr said that he was made aware of Iguodala's injury. He got a text about an hour before he arrived for his pregame news conference, and he said that he was going to talk with the team trainers and doctors yesterday, and figure out what's going on. But as Iggy has said many times, he's old, and he's kind of just, it is what it is, man. His body just doesn't work the way it does. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors opted to kind of just like save him for later series, especially considering the fact that you beat Denver like this again on Thursday, then we're talking about a sweep, right?
Yep.
But yeah, they're definitely going to need Iguodala's veteran presence in later rounds, I'd say. So if you don't have to rush him back into this series, who knows if this is going to be something that's going to it linger, or if it's kind of just a one-off thing. But long as with his injury history and age, if you don't have to rush him back into this series, no.
That was such an old man injury, man. I just kept thinking of the movie Friday. I'm like, my neck, my back, my neck, and my back. Like that's all that's been what's been ailing him most of the year. I think he had like a knee thing at one point, but these are old man injuries, man. Like my neck, my back. Like he's not even 38 though. He's still the same age as LeBron, but then again, LeBron has also missed a lot of games this year. There's a lot more to talk about. This first segment's sponsorships are based largely on the betting folks, including PrizePicks. If you're looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA, you need to try the award-winning app PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this app, and you will too. And it's really easy to use. You just pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections. The pool party, I think, will be a great player, for example, to bet the over on. And you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. And the best part, in my opinion, is that it's safe, and PrizePicks offers fast withdrawals. You don't have to go through weird processes in terms of getting your money back out. It's quick, it's easy, and that's the way to go with anything if you're playing online with your money, especially. And for a limited time, PrizePicks is an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores just a single point, but you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use the code NBA for $50 free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores just a single point. And today's episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news. The basketball playoffs are here. The Warriors have covered both game 1 and 2. That's always a sign that a team is clicking when they are covering that spread, baby. It was 6.5 in game 1, covered with ease. And then 7 in last night's game, they covered that again. And BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Follow CJ Holmes on Twitter at CJHolmes22. You can read all his content by subscribing to the San Francisco Chronicle. Great stuff, including a recent profile piece from Jordan Poole. Tell us about the pool party, man. I feel like you know him better than most just because profile pieces on the pool party are rare. He is not openly transparent with the media. He's starting to open up now. I'm feeling the warmth as his success continues to grow. But tell us about that, man. Like from your perspective, how amazed are you that this man is emerging to the point where he's in the same sentence as Curry and Klay?
It's pretty amazing, you know. Every time I think, you know, there's no way he could surprise me anymore. Seem to do it again. You know, his shot making ability, you know, the way he can finish around the rim or the audacity of the shots he takes. You know, so some possessions just really like, you know, leaves my jaw dropped. And again, it's just crazy to see, you know, how far he's come even just from the beginning of the year, you know, until now. You know, the one thing about Jordan Poole is confidence has never been an issue for him.
True.
You know, confidence has never been an issue for him. And the most confident guys are the guys who put in the work. I think you're really seeing that now. And, you know, game by game, Jordan's just coming more and more into his own. I mean, it's wild, you know.
It is.
At one point, you think like, you know, Jordan can, you know, oh, Jordan's going to be a solid player in this league. And then it's like, oh, you know, Jordan might be a above average player in this league. And it's like, dang, you know, Jordan could be an all-star in this league. But, you know, he keeps playing like this. I mean,
sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. It's who knows what he could end up. Have you ever seen a player meteorically rise like this? I really can't think off the top of my head anyone who has elevated their game so much in such a short period of time. Have you?
not in recent memory. What Jordan's doing is extremely unique and, extremely rare. You don't see guys production jump like this, overnight. He's just improved so much, just maybe more so than anyone in the league. It's
crazy.
It's a shame he wasn't named the finalist for the Most Improved Player award.
That is asinine, man. Did you get a vote this year? Like, how did that, like in the previous years, I believe, and this could be like more endemic of the whole award voting system. The way it's set up is the NBA usually allocates certain votes to organizations. I mean, I think there are some exceptions for individuals, but it's really rare. And they focus mostly on organizations like ESPN. I think they go to them and say, you have 15 votes, pick who you want. And I think in the Bay Area, the Chronicle and the San Jose Mercury News switch back and forth, if I'm not mistaken. That's at least been the way it's been in the past. Did you get a vote this year? And if not, like in your opinion, why do you think Poole got screwed over for the Most Improved Player award?
I definitely didn't get a vote. They know better than to give me a vote. But
okay.
But I think the biggest thing just had to do with the fact that, I think maybe it had the fact to do with Jordan's fluctuating role throughout the year. Guys like Darius Garland and John Morant were like dominant from the jump, right? It took Jordan a while to heat up. He went from starting in Klay's. He went from coming off the bench to starting in Klay's absence to going back to the bench to starting in Curry's absence. It was just a lot of fluctuating roles, a lot of changing parts, and there was a stretch here. Maybe before the All-Star break where Jordan was really struggling, in that 6-man role, struggling to find his rhythm. Everyone goes through slumps, but when you look at the complete body of work, I'm sure something like that might hurt him a little bit.
I think it did too. Yeah.
But make no mistake, since Stephen Curry went down with that injury on March 16th, Jordan Poole's been one of the best scorers in the entire league.
No doubt. No doubt.
And then I guess just the biggest knock on his candidacy was the fact that he didn't do it over the course of a complete season, if I had to guess.
No, I think that's fair. I just think in the spirit of the word, given what it represents, Josh should I just don't think he should be in this category. He's too good for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he already was amazing last year, and he's probably going to win the award, but I just think it goes against the whole aspect of the word improved. I mean, has not risen that much from last year to this year compared to a player like Poole just a year ago was in the G League. And I've been saying this on social media, and I say it right here. If you're a media member who did not vote Jordan Poole in the top 3, to have the courage to come out and say it. I mean, I would love for any media member to have the courage to literally say publicly, I did not vote Jordan Poole in the top 3. So I can call you out, man. So I can at least understand your reasoning and your rationale, because that is ridiculous. And all this kind of stuff does is damage the credibility of the media as a whole. I think certain people deserve votes, other people maybe don't, but that's just ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous to me. It's really is a cowardly act for you to say, no, I'm not going to put Jordan Poole in the top 3 and then hide and then just make yourself anonymous and not reveal yourself. Dude, come out and say it. Have conviction behind your vote. But that's just me. I digress. Is there any way to stop the big 3? I'm hearing a lot of nicknames. I'm calling it the Splash Party. So from now on, if you hear me say Splash Party, that means Stephen Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson. How can any team in the NBA stop the Splash Party? Do you have an answer?
Well, the more film they get on it, I'm sure they'll figure it out eventually. These opponents, other coaches, get paid for high-level scouting reports too. But right now it's just exceedingly difficult, it appears. When you have those 3 shooters on the floor, plus Wiggins, plus Draymond, the floor is so spread out. And, for example, in yesterday's game, the Warriors knew that, when Draymond Green was able to pull, Jokic up towards the free throw line, all they had to do was beat their man off the dribble, and it was a layup. I mean, that's how, spaced out the floor is. And again, it's pick your poison. You overcommit to Curry and you leave Klay open. You're late in your rotations to Klay, Poole stepping into a 3, and all those guys, know how to make you pay. So it's definitely that lineup the that Curry, Poole, Thompson, Wiggins, Green lineup is the epitome of pick your poison. And it's really reminiscent to some of the great Warriors lineups we've seen over the years. How can you stop it? I mean, I don't know. Good luck trying to stay in front of all three of those guys. They still got to worry about Wiggins and Green, but it'll be interesting to see how the Nuggets adjust over the course of this series, and how teams like maybe a Memphis or a Phoenix will get film on this, get film on these lineups, and it'll be interesting to see if they can find any counters. I think if any team can do it and be a team like Phoenix has a lot of defense and length and high level guys on the perimeter.
Yeah. And we'll look ahead to that in a second. I don't like to look ahead given the series is still far from over. I mean, we've seen a lot of 2-0 series turn, but clearly it's trending in one obvious direction, and that is the Warriors winning this thing. I first want to save people a ton of money, and you could do so by using Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models of cars, it's impossible for your local chain parts auto store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning, like is your Odyssey an LX or an EX, and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. CJ, you've complained about the Bay Bridge commute. That can be a nightmare at times. We all have limited time in our days. We're all super busy. You could save money and time with Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? An example being a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 from a chain store, just $216 from Rock Auto. It's a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Just write "Locked On" in their "How did you hear about us" box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow CJ Holmes on Twitter at CJHolmes22. He loves those retweets. Don't just like his posts, retweet his posts. And CJ, retweet some of my posts, man. I'm not feeling any retweet love from you lately, dude. I want some retweets.
I got you, man. My bad. My timeline is very cluttered place these days.
All good. I'm joking. If we're going to look ahead, let's say the Warriors pull this off, then the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves play game 2 tonight. That is one hell of a series. I can easily see this thing going 7. My early prediction right now is Memphis wins tonight. They split it in Minnesota, and then eventually we'll go to a game 7 where the home teams will win games 5 and 6. Who knows what happens? But for the Warriors, the longer that thing goes, the better it is, because the winner of that series is going to come out battered and certainly fatigued. Let's say it's the Grizzlies. I mean, first of all, is that what you think? Do you think the Grizzlies will win that series? What's your pick?
I mean, on paper, they should, right?
Yes.
They've been one of the best teams in the league all year long. But then again, you can't really sleep on a Minnesota team. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Ant-Man. I mean, they're a young team too that's trying to fight their way into relevancy.
Yeah.
They got a guy like Pat Bev on the roster, so they're scrappy. They'll lock up when needed. So it'll be an interesting series. Memphis really hasn't been in this position before, or they haven't been in this position in a long time. At least not this group hasn't been in this position before. They're a young team, and it's a battle really between two hungry young teams. And I think in that game 1, it was clear that Minnesota wanted it more. Ja played well, but I think Dylan Brooks had all right numbers, but other than that, it just seemed like Memphis didn't show up ready to play. They absolutely, now that they've they're down 0-1. They absolutely need to show up ready to play today, because you
Yep.
go down 0-2 on your home court, and you got to go back to Minnesota. I mean, that might be a wrap. So the Grizzlies are going to have to take care of business on their home floor tonight. You know, like I said, on paper, this is a series they should win. But, you know, if they can't find a way to match the Timberwolves' intensity in this series, it's going to be a long series that, you know, they'll be susceptible to lose.
Well, let's say for the sake of argument, it's the Grizzlies. They are still the favorites. You're right. Either team could come out of this, man. But for the sake of argument, let's go hypothetical here. Let's say it's the Grizzlies. If you're the Memphis and you're looking at this Warriors team, and Memphis just has no shortage in confidence, I almost think it's too much. If there's a definition of overconfidence, I think that group has it. How would a team like Memphis or even in Minnesota, do they have the personnel to stop the splash party? Do they have the personnel to stop those three? Or in your mind, is that really a group that, when healthy, is going to take this thing all the way to Larry O'Brien?
Like I said, it's hard to tell, man. You know, Memphis has been a good defensive team all year. I would imagine that they're certainly a better defensive team than Denver. You know, the same way I imagine the Phoenix is a much better defensive team with Denver. But, you know, you got big guards out there like Dylan Brooks. You got John Morant. You know, you got Jaren Jackson Jr., who can, you know, maybe move a little better defensively than a Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Or you know,
I do.
So
100% do.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I don't mean to stump you, man. I'm sorry. That is a hard question because NBA coaches can't figure this out. So I hear you, dude. It's not easy. Yeah. It's damn near impossible. Like I said, I'm picking this team to take it all the way. Let me ask you this, dude. In my opinion, you've been to Denver, and the visiting locker room has a massively huge mural on the wall that says 280 feet, which is the equivalent of a mile. Please correct me if my math is wrong there. I think that's right. And it's just a psychological type warfare move where it's reminding visiting players, you're a mile up here. The air is thinner. This is not the same environment you're used to. And you're right, that crowd can really get into it. In my opinion, the Warriors would benefit themselves leaving a day earlier than they should, just to acclimate and assimilate. What is your thoughts on that? And do you have any information on their travel plans?
The Warriors will practice tomorrow morning, and they will travel. Their flight's at 2.
Okay.
To Denver. They will shoot around Thursday morning, and then game 3 Thursday night. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, will they have to, you know, maybe leaving earlier would help them acclimate, but, you know, I think after two hard fought games in terms of, like, you know, giving it their all in game 1 and 2, you know, they're
R&R.
I think they could really, you know, that group could use a rest day, which they're getting today.
Agreed. No, I'm with you on that. That's makes perfect sense. What is your prediction, man? Like, do you think this is a sweep? How are you feeling? I called 5. Now I'm thinking maybe 4, but I'm still going to stick with 5. I could see Denver pulling out 1 out of 2 in their home. What are your thoughts, man, as we wrap things up? What are you predicting for the Warriors for the rest of the series? And also a second question, too, if you don't mind. And what are you working on next? Any profile pieces, any features? What's on the agenda for C.J. Holmes, the reporter?
Well, to your first point, you know, I just can't see a scenario where, you know, the reigning MVP, you know, doesn't have that game where he absolutely goes off. You know, goes and gets, like, you know, 40, 10, and 10. You know, maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe, you know, Draymond and Loon are his kryptonite in this series. But I do think one of these games, probably at home, that Jokic is going to have his way. But maybe just once, right? It's just the way this thing is going. So I could definitely see, you know, Warriors in 5.
Yeah.
In terms of what I'm working on, nothing too wild, man. Just you know, taking the playoff coverage game by game, and just looking for any exciting, you know, story ideas that may come out of it.
There you go. And when you talk about Jokic's kryptonite, Draymond Green, man, what an example of the eye test speaking the truth more so than stats, just because He's Mr. Triple Single again, and no one's complaining. He's talking about how amazing it is for him offensively to have all these weapons to pass to. And then Steve Kerr, I want to mention as well. He added in his post-game press conference. He didn't expect Jordan Poole to play this well. I mean, it's I don't think anyone did, and I give kudos to anyone who 2 years ago was prescient enough to make the call that Jordan Poole would someday elevate his game to this level, because I was not part of that. I'll be the first to admit, but I'm also so happy to be wrong about Jordan Poole. But talking about Jokic's kryptonite, man, Gary Payton II has to be mentioned as well, because for some reason, dude, he really gets in Jokic's head. You saw Jokic after that butt tap wanting to go after him. I don't know if you saw that in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the psychological warfare is one of many aspects of this team where they just have such an edge that nothing seems to get to the Warriors. And meanwhile, on the other side, you're seeing DeMarcus Cousins. Apparently, supposedly, the word is that brawl, or that little scuffle. Brawl is not the right word. The little scuffle started because Cousins was trying to rally the troops, trying to hype him up. And Will Barton had none of that, wanted nothing to do with that. They started going at it. Poor Cousins, man. I mean, I say that only because he's been on so many teams, and I know he's clearly got some sort of issues with his temperament. But I also think he's got a huge heart, dude. I hope things work out for him, dude. Because it looks like that incident does not help his case. That just shows the rest of the league. All it does is perpetuate the stereotype that he's a troublemaker. He's cause for dissent. He's disgruntled. I digress, man. CJ, it's always a pleasure, brother. You're welcome on the show anytime. I hope life in Oakland's treating you great. How are you liking the Bay Area, man? Are you happy?
Yeah, man, it's cool, man. Just right now I'm in the grind of the season and the playoffs, but hopefully here in the off season I'll be able to do a little bit more exploring.
Well, what are you thinking of exploring, man? Is there anything I could help you with? If you ever need company, man, let me know. I'll happily roll along. But yeah, if you ever need suggestions, you're born and raised here, I'll gladly help out. It is a beautiful scene. You just got to avoid the traffic to be happy.
Absolutely, man.
I love it, man. Follow CJ Holmes on Twitter at CJHolmes22. Read all of his content at the San Francisco Chronicle. It's great stuff. And I'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Warriors. Brian Witt's going to join me. He actually created the Splash Brothers moniker. What are you thinking? Let's end on that note, CJ. What are you liking for the new nickname? Because I'm hearing like Stephen A. Smith decided to interject, and he's calling this trio the Lethal Weapon 3. That's all right. I don't like the PTSD thing. I talked about it. I want a positive connotation with a nickname for this group. I love the Splash Party. We held a poll on Twitter with the Locked On Dubs account. That's at Locked On Dubs. And Splash Party got 60% of the vote. What are you feeling, man? Anything you've heard or any ideas that you have for what we should be calling this trio of just unbelievable offensive and defensive weapons?
Honestly, I just kind of got like two thoughts on it. I think they should just be the Splash Bros still.
Just extended.
Yeah, just extend it.
I respect that.
Add Jordan Poole into the fray, or Joe Poole said it last night in a post game interview coming off the court. I remember he said he's all right, yada 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 yada, and that's what makes us lethal. So I mean, why not just the lethal lineup?
Maybe that's where Stephen A. came up with Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, regardless, man, if you're a member of Dub Nation, you got to love what's going on here so far, and it continues on Thursday. CJ, always a pleasure, man. Hope to see you again soon. See you all, folks, later.